Princess Liara of Zytheria stood on the balcony of the floating palace, looking out over the glowing rivers that twisted across her planet. The sky was alive with colors, painted in shades of pink and blue, as Zytheria's twin suns began to set. Ships floated silently in the air, patrolling the borders of the kingdom. Everything seemed perfect, peaceful, and under her people's control. Yet, inside her heart, Liara felt a flutter of worry. Today was the day of her arranged marriage, a union meant to strengthen ties with other alien kingdoms. From a young age, Liara had trained to be the perfect princess, wise, strong, and elegant. Her parents, the king and queen, had raised her with pride in her alien heritage. She believed her people were the strongest, smartest, and most capable in the galaxy. The grand hall of the palace was filled with nobles, warriors, and diplomats. The walls were carved from crystal that reflected light in dazzling patterns. The floor floated above the clouds, making anyone who looked down feel as if they were walking among the stars. The crowd waited quietly, anticipating the arrival of the prince she was to marry. But the surprise came instead of the expected alien warrior. A human walked into the hall. Caden, from Earth, stepped forward with calm confidence. His armor was simple compared to the elaborate designs of Zytherian warriors, but it fit him perfectly, showing strength and readiness. His dark eyes scanned the room, noting every detail. Unlike the aliens, his movements were precise, yet relaxed. He did not bow or kneel like the others. He simply stood straight and tall. The room went silent. Whispers floated across the hall. Humans were rare in this part of the galaxy, and they were often seen as fragile, inexperienced, and unfit for leadership. To have one as a royal husband was unheard of. Liara's heart skipped a beat. She could not believe what she was seeing. "Princess Liara," said the chief diplomat of the neighboring planets, "this is Caden, the human warrior from Earth. According to the ancient treaty, he is your betrothed." Liara's mind spun. A human? Her thoughts raced. How could her parents allow this? How could the Council of Elders agree to such a union? The ancient treaty was important, yes, but humans had never proven themselves strong enough to lead, to fight, or to protect a kingdom like Zytheria. Caden stepped forward and bowed respectfully, though not in the same way as the aliens. His gesture was simple, yet sincere. "Princess Liara," he said in a clear voice, "I am honored to meet you. I will do my best to serve Zytheria and to honor this union." Liara looked at him closely. His face was calm, his posture strong, and his eyes steady. He did not tremble under the gaze of the crowd or the weight of the ceremony. There was something in him, a quiet confidence, that made her pause. "Very well," said Liara, her voice steady though her mind was still in chaos. "The treaty must be honored." The rest of the ceremony passed with formal words, but Liara barely heard them. Her mind was filled with questions and doubts. Could a human, someone so small and seemingly fragile, really be worthy of her hand? Could he protect her, her family, and her people? Later, in the private gardens of the palace, Liara found herself walking alone, her thoughts heavy. Caden followed at a respectful distance. The gardens were unlike any on Earth. Trees floated in the air, their roots dangling, and flowers glowed softly in the twilight. Streams of liquid crystal ran beside the walkways. "Princess," Caden said softly, "I know I may seem different to you, but I hope you will see that humans can be strong, brave, and loyal. I am here to learn from you and to share what I know from my world." Liara stopped walking and turned to him. "I have trained my whole life to trust only what I see and know," she said. "Humans, they are not known for their strength here. How can I believe in you? Leavin, up to me." Caden smiled faintly. "Strength is not only in muscle or size. It is in courage, in the mind, and in the heart. I hope I can show you that. Liara studied him for a long time. There was a calmness about him, a quiet power that she had not expected. Still, doubt lingered. She would need proof that a human could survive the challenges of Zytheria and earn the respect of her people. The next day, the royal court announced the trials of strength, a set of tests designed to prove the worth of any warrior who sought marriage into the royal family. The first trial was the Labyrinth of Light, a maze filled with illusions, traps, and shifting walls. Only the cleverest and bravest could navigate it. Liara watched the preparations with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. As Caden entered the maze, the crowd murmured. He was smaller than the alien warriors, but he moved with care and attention, observing every detail. Unlike others who relied on force, he relied on his senses, his mind, and his instincts. When a wall shifted suddenly, he ducked and rolled, using the momentum to leap over a glowing trap. He solved puzzles quickly, using logic and intuition that even the oldest alien scholars would not have expected. When he emerged, unharmed and victorious, the hall erupted in quiet amazement. Liara could not hide her surprise. Humans, she realized, might be underestimated. Their strength was not in size or weapons, but in cleverness, courage, and adaptability. For the first time, Liara felt a flicker of respect and a tiny spark of curiosity toward the human who was now her betrothed. She did not know if she could fully trust him yet, but she could no longer ignore that humans might have powers her people had never understood. As the sun set over Zytheria that night, the palace glowed like a jewel in the sky. Liara stood on her balcony, thinking of Caden, the human warrior who had stunned her. She did not yet know how this union would change her life or her planet, but she sensed that everything about the future was about to change. The story of the princess and her human husband had only just begun. The morning sun rose over Zytheria, casting golden light across the floating palace and the gardens below. Princess Liara walked through the corridors of the palace, her mind still restless from the events of the previous day. Caden, the human warrior, had already proven his courage in the Labyrinth of Light. But today's challenges would be even harder. The royal court gathered in the grand arena, a vast structure suspended above the clouds. Its walls were made of shimmering crystal, and the air vibrated with anticipation. Alien warriors, scholars, and nobles filled the arena, curious to see how a human could survive the trials of strength. Liara stood at the edge of the arena, watching as Caden prepared for the first trial. Unlike other competitors, he did not boast or show fear. He simply observed the arena carefully, his eyes scanning every corner. The first challenge was the Gauntlet of Elements. Streams of fire, blasts of wind, walls of water, and shifting crystal floors tested every skill a warrior could possess. The alien champions moved quickly, relying on their advanced reflexes and powerful bodies. Many fell, trapped in the hazards of the arena. Caden moved differently. He dodged flames not with speed alone, but by predicting their pattern. He leapt over sudden gaps in the floor, using momentum and balance. When the wind nearly pushed him off the ledge, he crouched low and rolled, letting gravity work with him instead of against him. Water walls tried to block him, but he remembered lessons from his training back on Earth, using clever angles to slide through the narrow openings. Liara could not take her eyes off him. Her heart raced with a mix of doubt, fear, and awe. Could this human truly succeed where her finest warriors had struggled? Caden reached the end of the gauntlet, breathing steadily, his face calm. The crowd erupted in whispers and astonishment. Even the royal advisors could not hide their surprise. A human had completed a trial that many Zytherian warriors had failed. Next came the test of combat, held in the central arena. Caden faced the palace guards, aliens, who had trained for decades in martial arts and weaponry. Each guard was taller, stronger, and more heavily armored than Caden. The spectators held their breath. The battle began. Caden moved with incredible awareness, watching his opponents closely. He did not charge blindly. He dodged, parried, and used the momentum of his attackers against them. One guard swung a massive blade, expecting Caden to step back. Instead, Caden ducked and guided the guard forward, making him stumble. Another tried a spinning attack, and Caden used the motion to push him past the edge of the platform, stopping just in time. Liara gasped. She had seen warriors fight before, but none had shown such creativity and quick thinking. The audience began to murmur. Perhaps humans are stronger than we thought. Some whispered. Listardi. End quote. Listardi teller. Listardi. Others shook their heads, unwilling to admit it aloud. When the combat ended, Caden stood alone, unscathed. The alien guards bowed to him, their faces a mix of respect and disbelief. Liara's admiration for him grew stronger. She realized that strength was not always measured in size or power, but in intelligence, courage, and adaptability. The final trial of the day was the challenge of strategy, designed to test not only strength, but also mind and leadership. Contestants were given control of a small fleet of drones in a simulation of a space battle. The goal was to protect a fleet of Zetherian ships from a simulated enemy attack. Caden studied the drones carefully. He noticed patterns in the enemy movement and weaknesses in the fleet's formation. While the aliens relied on brute force, Caden used strategy and prediction. He diverted enemy drones to traps, reinforced weak points, and coordinated attacks with precise timing. By the end of the simulation, Caden's fleet had suffered minimal losses, while most alien competitors had failed. Even the Council of Elders, who had doubted him from the start, could not deny the human's skill. Liara approached Caden as the crowd cheered. "I underestimated you," she admitted, her voice soft but honest. "Your strength, your mind. It is unlike anything I have seen in our people." Caden bowed his head slightly. "Thank you, Princess. I only wish to prove that humans can contribute, that we can be trusted and strong, in ways that may not be obvious at first." Liara studied him for a long moment. The admiration in her eyes was now mingled with curiosity and respect. She realized that her beliefs about humans were too limited. They were not weaker. They were simply different. And in difference, there was power. That night, the palace gardens glowed under the twin moons of Zetheria. Liara walked with Caden among the floating flowers, the streams of crystal water reflecting the soft light. "Tomorrow," she said quietly, "we begin the next stage. But today, you have shown more than I expected." Caden smiled faintly. "Strength is only one part of the challenge. Tomorrow, you will see more. But I hope you will remember today." As they walked, Liara could not help but notice the way Caden observed everything. The smallest detail of the floating flowers, the path of the water streams, the positions of the stars above. Humans saw the world differently, she realized, and perhaps that difference was exactly what Zetheria needed. In her private chambers later, Liara gazed out at the stars. She could no longer ignore the truth. Humans were capable, clever, and brave. Caden had proven that a warrior could come from Earth and stand equal to any Zetherian. And yet, a question lingered in her mind. Could she trust him fully? Could her heart open to someone so different? She did not know the answer yet. But one thing was certain: her life, and the fate of her kingdom, had just begun to change in ways she could never have imagined. The trials of strength had ended, but the real journey, the journey of trust, understanding, and discovery, was only beginning. The sun rose over Zetheria, painting the floating palace in warm shades of orange and gold. Princess Liara walked along the palace corridors, her mind restless. Caden had proven himself in the trials of strength. His courage, intelligence, and creativity had surprised everyone. Many nobles had begun to murmur about his worthiness, and whispers of admiration floated through the palace halls. But not everyone was pleased. In the shadows, a group of high-ranking nobles and alien commanders gathered in secret. They were opposed to the marriage between Liara and a human. "This human is not one of us," one of them hissed. "He may succeed in trials, but he cannot lead our people. He cannot protect us as a true warrior can." Another voice added, "We cannot allow our princess to marry him. It is a threat to Zetheria's honor. If he gains influence, our people will lose faith in the throne." Their plan was simple but dangerous. They would create false evidence that Caden was secretly plotting against the royal family, hoping to break the trust between Liara and him. If the princess doubted her human husband, the conspirators believed their plan to preserve Zetheria's traditions would succeed. Meanwhile, Liara spent her morning in the palace gardens with Caden. The floating flowers glowed softly, and streams of crystal water sparkled in the sunlight. She studied him carefully, her thoughts a mix of admiration and curiosity. "You have impressed everyone," Liara said quietly. "Even those who doubted you cannot hide their surprise." Caden smiled faintly. "I only did what I could. I knew the trials would test more than strength. They test the mind and heart as well." Liara nodded. "And yet, I cannot help but feel uneasy. There are whispers, doubts among my people. Some do not trust you, no matter what you achieve." Caden stopped walking and turned to her. "Princess, I understand. It is not easy to trust someone so different. But I am not here to take your place or to challenge your people. I only wish to serve and protect, as I promised." Liara felt a flicker of reassurance. His calm words and steady gaze reminded her why she had been drawn to him during the trials. Still, the unease in the palace continued to grow. Later that day, the conspirators set their plan into motion. They forged a message that appeared to be from Caden, suggesting that he had secret alliances with Zetheria's enemies. The message was carefully placed where Liara would find it. When she read it, her heart sank. The words seemed so convincing, so carefully written, that doubt began to creep into her mind. Liara confronted Caden privately in the palace library. "Caden, I found this," she said, holding the forged message in her hand. Her voice trembled slightly, a rare break in her usual composure. "It says that you have secret plans to betray us." Caden took the message, his brow furrowed as he read it. Then he looked up, calm but firm. "Princess, this is not mine. I would never betray you or your people. Someone is trying to create doubt and division. We must find the truth together." Liara hesitated, her heart torn. She had seen Caden prove himself in the trials, yet the message felt real, as if it were a warning from the universe itself. Could she ignore the whispers of her people? Caden placed a hand gently on hers. "Trust cannot come from fear or suspicion. It comes from understanding and experience. Let me show you the truth." "Ground." Liara nodded slowly. She agreed to help him investigate the source of the message. Together, they moved through the palace in secret, following subtle clues left behind by the conspirators. Caden's human intuition guided them. He noticed details the aliens overlooked, the slight shift of a floor tile, the hidden mark on a crystal, the pattern of palace guards' movements. Finally, they discovered a hidden chamber beneath the palace, where the conspirators had gathered to plan their scheme. Caden and Liara listened quietly from the shadows, learning about the forged message and the plot to undermine him. Liara's heart swelled with a mixture of anger and relief. The human she had doubted was right, the conspiracy was real. She had nearly been tricked into mistrusting the one who had proven himself worthy. When the conspirators left the chamber, Caden turned to Liara. "Now you see," he said. "Humans may not have the same strength as aliens, but we can see patterns, think differently, and find the truth in ways others cannot." Liara smiled, feeling admiration deepen into respect. You are not just strong, you are wise and clever. You protect not just with your sword, but with your mind and your heart. Caden bowed his head slightly. That is all I can do, Princess. Protect, serve, and be honest. Trust will grow in time, as it has already begun to grow. In the following days, Liara began to speak openly about Caden's courage and skill, praising his accomplishments in front of the court. Slowly, many of the nobles who had doubted him began to reconsider. They saw that humans, though smaller and physically weaker than aliens, had intelligence, creativity, and courage that made them unique and valuable allies. One evening, as Liara and Caden watched the twin moons rise over the palace, Liara spoke quietly. I realize now. Humans are special in ways I never understood before. You have shown me that strength comes in many forms, not just in size or power. Caden smiled gently. And you have shown me the importance of trust, patience, and learning from others. Together, we can face challenges that neither humans nor aliens could face alone. Liara looked at him, her heart lighter than it had been in days. For the first time, she felt not only admiration, but also a growing bond of trust. The human warrior who had stunned her was no longer just a visitor, he was someone she could rely on, someone who could stand by her side through danger and uncertainty. Yet, even as they celebrated their small victory, Liara knew that greater challenges lay ahead. The conspiracy had been uncovered, but Zytheria's enemies were still watching. New dangers would test not only Caden's strength, but also the trust and partnership between human and alien. The princess and the human warrior had faced deception, doubt, and danger together. And in that shared struggle, a seed of understanding had been planted, a seed that could grow into something stronger than either of them had imagined. The story of trust, courage, and discovery was only beginning. And the shadows of conspiracy had only made the light of truth shine brighter. The skies over Zytheria darkened one morning, and an uneasy silence fell across the floating palace. Reports arrived that a rival alien empire, jealous of Zytheria's strength and wary of the new human alliance, had launched a massive attack. Ships appeared on the horizon, their metal hulls glinting ominously in the twin suns' light. Princess Liara stood at the balcony, her heart pounding. This was a threat unlike any her kingdom had faced before. Alien warriors rushed to their stations, and the palace's defenses were activated, but the sheer number of enemy ships was overwhelming. Caden joined her, calm yet alert. We must act quickly, he said. Strength alone will not save us. We need strategy, coordination, and adaptability. Humans may be small in size, but we can turn ideas into powerful weapons. Liara nodded. She had seen Caden's intelligence and courage in the trials, and she trusted him. What do you propose? She asked. Caden studied the battle fleet of Zytheria, noting the positions of the enemy ships. We will divide their forces. We will use their overconfidence against them. Some will chase bait ships, while the rest of our fleet hits critical points in their formation. We must move faster than they expect. The palace commanders looked skeptical. Humans had never led fleets in interstellar warfare. But Liara stepped forward, her voice commanding. Caden's plan is our best chance. We follow his lead. The human warrior quickly organized teams of alien pilots, mixing human and Zytherian strategies. He gave precise instructions, anticipating enemy moves. When the battle began, enemy ships charged confidently, expecting an easy victory. But Caden's plan worked. Bait ships drew part of the enemy fleet into traps, while the rest of Zytheria's forces attacked from unexpected angles. Liara watched in awe as Caden coordinated every move. He predicted enemy maneuvers, issued orders with perfect timing, and adjusted the plan instantly when surprises appeared. His mind was always several steps ahead. Even alien commanders, who had fought countless wars, were impressed by his tactical brilliance. The enemy attempted to outflank Scytheria, but Caden anticipated their moves. He sent small squads to intercept, while larger ships blocked key pathways. One enemy flagship, the largest and most heavily armed, tried to break through the defenses. Caden saw its weak points and directed a precise strike that disabled its engines. The flagship was forced to retreat. In the palace, Liara felt a mix of relief and pride. Her human husband was not just surviving, he was leading Scytheria to victory. She realized that humans' greatest strength was not physical power, but ingenuity, adaptability, and the ability to see solutions where others saw only obstacles. As the battle continued, enemy ships tried desperate maneuvers, but Caden's strategy held. He coordinated attacks with calm precision, using minimal resources for maximum effect. Smaller human-designed tactics, combined with Scytherian strength, created a balance that the enemy could not overcome. Liara joined the command deck, helping Caden coordinate the defense. Together, they became a formidable team. Her alien instincts for battlefield awareness complemented Caden's human intuition and creativity. They communicated silently, anticipating each other's moves. The palace crew watched, amazed at how two different species could work so perfectly together. Hours passed, and the enemy fleet began to falter. Their confidence had turned into confusion, and their well-planned attack crumbled. Caden led a final maneuver, targeting the remaining enemy ships' weakest points. One by one, the invaders were forced to retreat. Scytheria had survived the siege, and its people were victorious. The palace erupted in celebration. Liara turned to Caden, her eyes shining with admiration. "You did it," she said. "You saved Scytheria." "How leaded?" Caden shook his head modestly. "We did it together. Your people fought bravely, and your trust in me made this possible. Humans alone could not have done it." Liara smiled. "No. But humans and you showed that courage, intelligence, and creativity can turn the impossible into reality. You are more than any of us imagined." The victory also changed the perception of humans among Scytheria's people. Soldiers who had doubted Caden now bowed in respect. Nobles whispered about his brilliance, and the Council of Elders publicly praised his contributions. Humans, once seen as fragile and weak, were now recognized as capable, clever, and courageous allies. That evening, the palace was alive with celebration. Music, lights, and floating lanterns filled the gardens. Liara and Caden walked together among the glowing flowers, enjoying the peaceful night after the storm of battle. "I see now," Liara said softly. "That strength is not only about the body, it is about the mind, the heart, and the courage to face what seems impossible." Caden nodded. "Humans have learned to survive by thinking creatively and adapting quickly. I hope that today, Scytheria has seen that strength comes in many forms." Liara looked at him with a warmth that went beyond admiration. "I do. And I am proud that you are here, at my side, not just as my husband, but as my partner, my equal, and my friend." Caden reached for her hand. "And I am proud to stand with you, Princess. Together, we can face whatever the galaxy brings." The twin moons of Scytheria reflected off the crystal streams in the gardens. For the first time, Liara felt completely at peace. The human warrior had not only proven his strength and intelligence, but he had also earned her trust and respect. She realized that humans were indeed special, capable of rising to challenges that even the greatest alien warriors might fail. The galactic siege had tested Caden, tested Scytheria, and tested their partnership. And through it all, Liara had learned a valuable lesson. Sometimes, the most unlikely heroes can shine brightest in the darkest moments. As they gazed at the stars, Liara whispered, "The galaxy is vast, Caden, There will be more challenges ahead, but I know we can face them together. Caden squeezed her hand gently. Yes, Princess. The stars are full of mysteries, but humans and aliens together can overcome any threat. Today was just the beginning. The palace glowed under the twin moons, a beacon of hope and unity. For Liara and Caden, the victory was not only in the battle won, but in the bond they had forged. Humans had proven themselves worthy, not by size or strength alone, but by courage, creativity, and determination. The story of the alien princess and her human warrior husband had reached a new turning point. The galaxy had witnessed the power of unity, the brilliance of human ingenuity, and the strength that comes from trust between two very different species. And the future promised even greater adventures, as Liara and Caden prepared to face whatever the stars would send next. The twin suns of Zytheria rose slowly over the floating palace, casting golden light across the crystal towers and glowing rivers below. The air was filled with the hum of celebration. Word of Caden's heroism had spread across the planet, and aliens and humans alike were gathering in the streets and gardens to honor the victory over the invading fleet. Princess Liara walked through the palace corridors, her hand lightly touching the walls of shimmering crystal. She felt a deep sense of pride and hope. The past days had been difficult, filled with trials, conspiracies, and war. Yet she had learned more than she could have imagined. And at the center of it all had been Caden, the human warrior who had stunned her, not only with his strength, but with his courage, wisdom, and heart. Caden joined her at the balcony overlooking the city. The streets below were alive with cheering citizens waving flags, lanterns floating in the air, and music echoing between the towers. "It is beautiful," Liara said softly. "I never imagined Zytheria could feel so alive." Caden smiled, his eyes following the celebrations. "It is a moment of unity, Princess. Humans and aliens standing together. I think your people have begun to see that differences can be a source of strength, not weakness." Liara turned to him, her eyes shining with admiration. "Yes, I see that now. Humans, you have taught me something important. Courage, wisdom, and creativity matter just as much as power. And you have earned not only my trust, but my respect and my heart." Caden's face softened. "And you have taught me, Princess, that leadership is not just about winning battles. It is about trust, guidance, and understanding the people you protect." The Palace Council gathered that afternoon to recognize Caden's contributions officially. The elders, who had doubted him at first, praised his courage, intelligence, and leadership. They declared that humans were now respected allies of Zytheria, and that the treaty between Earth and Zytheria would be strengthened through this bond. Liara and Caden stood side by side as the council announced their official union. Citizens cheered, and a new sense of hope spread throughout the planet. No longer would humans be seen as fragile outsiders. They had proven themselves equal, capable, and honorable. That evening, Liara and Caden walked through the palace gardens, where the floating flowers glowed under the twin moons. Streams of crystal water reflected the light, creating a magical path. The air was calm and sweet with the fragrance of alien blossoms. "I feel different now," Liara said softly. "The world seems larger, more alive, and I feel that together, humans and aliens can achieve so much more than we ever imagined. Alone." Caden nodded. "It is the same for me. I have seen worlds and beings beyond my imagination. But here, with you and your people, I feel that we can build something lasting, something that will endure beyond any battle or challenge." Liara smiled, leaning slightly on his arm. "I am proud of what we have done, and proud of what you have taught us all." The next days were filled with efforts to strengthen the alliance. Humans and aliens trained together, sharing skills, strategies, and knowledge. Caden worked with Zetherian scholars to improve technology and tactics, while also learning from the aliens' wisdom and experience. The palace became a hub of cooperation, creativity, and learning. Even the youngest Zetherian students looked to Caden as a role model. He showed them that being human did not mean being weak. It meant being clever, adaptable, and brave. And as the children practiced with him, they began to understand that strength comes in many forms. Liara watched from a distance, her heart swelling with pride and love. The human who had once stunned her in the royal hall had now become a symbol of unity, hope, and inspiration. She realized that humans and aliens together could overcome any obstacle, and that Caden was not only her husband, but also a partner in shaping a better future. In the palace hall, the two of them discussed plans for interstellar missions. Humans and Zetherians would explore neighboring systems together, seeking knowledge, resources, and new allies. Caden's creativity and human ingenuity, combined with Zetherian technology and strength, promised discoveries and adventures beyond imagination. As night fell, the palace glowed under the stars. Liara and Caden stood on the balcony once more, watching ships fly across the horizon, some human, some Zetherian, symbolizing a partnership that had grown stronger than anyone could have predicted. "Do you think the galaxy is ready for humans?" Liara asked, teasing lightly. Caden chuckled. "Perhaps not. But humans are ready for the galaxy. And now, Zetheria is too. Together, we can face anything." Liara nodded, her eyes reflecting the sparkling stars. "Yes, and I am glad we face it together." The twin moons rose higher, casting soft silver light over the palace and city. The planet had survived the siege, uncovered conspiracies, and embraced a new era of cooperation and respect. Humans were no longer outsiders. They were heroes, allies, and partners. In the days and years to come, Liara and Caden would lead their people into a future filled with exploration, discovery, and unity. The story of the alien princess and her human warrior husband became a legend across the stars, a tale of courage, trust, and the power of seeing strength where others saw only weakness. Liara stood close to Caden, feeling the warmth of his hand in hers. "Our journey has only just begun," she said. Caden smiled. "And I cannot imagine anyone else I would rather face it with." The palace shimmered in the light of the twin moons. The floating flowers swayed gently, and the crystal streams reflected a galaxy full of possibilities. For the first time, Princess Lyra felt the full promise of unity not just between herself and Caden, but between humans and aliens, between different worlds, and between all who dared to believe in courage, intelligence, and the strength of the heart. The story had reached its first conclusion, but the adventure of trust, discovery, and partnership would continue, stretching across the stars and shaping a future more extraordinary than anyone could have imagined. For Liara and Caden, for humans and Zetherians alike, the galaxy was full of challenges, but it was also full of hope, strength, and endless possibilities. And together, they would face it all.